Alright everybody, we're back with week 7 of our KDF Marathon strength training program, and this is the halfway point. So once we're done with this week, these two workouts, we're halfway through the entire strength training program. And just like last week, I made sure to actually go through and separate these out so they're blown up a little bigger. There are some new exercises, and from here on out, I'm going to try and limit how many exercises are actually new. Alright guys, and starting week 7, workout 1, we have forward and sideways step-ups. Now with these step-ups, it's really just important to make sure that you're pushing through the front foot, so the foot that's up on the box there. And then you'll notice that I bring my opposite foot up. That way we have to use a little bit of our balance as well. So we're kind of getting two things at once. We're not just doing a strength exercise, we're also going to work in some balance. Now notice with these side step-ups that my knee stays over my foot, so I'm actually pushing it out a little bit. It's not diving in as I come down. That's pretty important. And then on to single leg to single leg broad jump. So we're just going to jump for distance here. Now if you start on your right foot, you're going to then land on your right foot. The biggest thing, and I kind of harp on this every time that we do a jumping exercise, is to land as soft as possible. You should barely be able to hear your foot hit the ground. Really push and explode off the toes, land on the whole foot as you actually come down. And then from this front on view, what you can see is that my knee doesn't dive in or out, so it's kind of good to use a mirror if you have one available. Rounding out our lower body exercises, we just have a regular glute bridge. Now again, I'm using a weight that's going to sit across my hips. And notice I also have a band just below my knees, so I'm having to push out against that band. So we're going to get some external rotation, and we're still going to get some glute work in there with the bridge itself. Keep the tummy tight, push down through the heels, and that's it. And then on to our upper body, we have our mid cable row or a band row. I'm using a band. Same as we've done in the past few weeks. Drive that elbow back, squeeze the shoulder blade towards the middle of the back, and that's it. There's nothing super fancy. A little bit of shoulder rotation is okay because that's going to help engage some of the core. And if you notice here, I do have my opposite foot forward. So if I'm pulling with my right arm, my left foot's in front. If you look to the back there, there's a Wild Daryl deadlifting in the back. And then finishing up our upper body exercises, we have just a basic push-up. And again, if you need to, you can elevate the hands, as in, use a bench. Or if you want to, just go to your knees like I'm about to show you in just a second here. Keep everything from the shoulder to the hip and knee all flat in a straight line. Keep the tummy tight and engaged. Just push hard through the ground. And then second to last exercise, we have our resisted dead bug. I'm kind of showing you the setup here. The dumbbell should be above the head, lowering the legs slowly, keeping the back flat against the ground. Notice that I'm not bringing my knees up towards my chest. They're not coming past the hips at all. They actually stay out just a bit, and it's going to make it a little more difficult. If you get any pain with this, just stop. And then on to our last core exercise, we have the stability ball Russian twist. Now, this one is kind of an odd movement. It's just a small shoulder rotation. I do have a kettlebell there. That's I think it's a 20-pound kettlebell. Small shoulder rotation. The hips should stay high so they don't sag down. So throughout this whole thing, I'm actually squeezing my butt up. That's important so that you can then just rotate the chest. And a really good key here is to make small movements, because if you try and go too big, you will fall off the ball. I've done it before. And starting out our workout, we have 3-step in-place running. Now all we're trying to do here is move as quickly as possible. So we're tapping down fast, and then on that third step, you should actually be able to hold it and just maintain your balance. So it's a little bit of agility, and we're also trying to work on balancing at the final step. And then from this side-on view, what you can see is that I'm actually a little leaned forward at my chest, and I'm not standing straight up. So it really should mimic a sprint. Then we're going to move on to our lower body again. We're going to go back to some stability ball hamstring curls. So here you can see me set it up. You're going to lift the butt up off the ground, dig those heels in, and pull the ball back towards you. Notice that my upper body actually stays about the same level the whole time, all the way from my shoulder to my hips, and really my hamstrings are just digging in trying to tear that ball apart. And if you don't know what your hamstrings are, they're the muscles right on the back of your thigh. So they actually are going to pull the heel down towards the ground. And then up next we have a fire hydrant. Now this is kind of an awkward thing to try and explain. The easiest way I can say it is that you're trying to push your knee back, out, and around. So I showed it the first time as 3 different motions, but really it should be done all as one. You're trying to push that knee out, and that's kind of where I'm focusing. I'm focusing on that band and pushing that band away from me. And then moving on to the upper body, we have a band pull apart. Now, notice that my palms are down. I'm using a pretty thick band here, but palms are down. You're trying to tear the actual band apart, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then bring the arms just in line with the body. So that if you had to, it would just be one straight line from hand to hand, all the way through your chest. And then back to a push-up. So with this, we're just going to raise that leg up, squeeze the cheek, and then just do a push-up. Now the key here is definitely don't let the hips rotate. As you can see, my hips stay level with the ground the whole time. They're not dipping down. I'm keeping my stomach tight. And they are quite a bit harder than a normal push-up, so if you need to, just like I'm doing here, move to a knee. Still pretty darn tough if you're not great at push-ups. And then second to last thing, we have just our crunch. Now again, I like to have my legs out a little bit further than normal, so I'm not actually all bent up. I'm just trying to bring my shoulder blades up off the ground, and my hands aren't actually pulling on my neck, they're just right next to it. With the arms extended like that, it's just a little bit harder, and then I did extend my legs even farther, which is going to make it just a little bit more difficult. If you need to, add some weight. And then our last exercise, we have a multi-walkout. Now, my hands are out, my knees are bent, and I'm just stepping side to side. Now with a band like this, the thing is that it's going to be a little bit harder when you go to actually step out. If you have a cable machine, just set it to a pretty moderate resistance, and then just step side to side. And as you can see, I'm really trying to not let my hands move side to side. They're just staying right in the middle of my chest. And that's it, guys. Now, if you have any questions or comments, definitely email me. It's right there on the screen, or I'm also going to put it in the description too. So let me know how you're all doing. I always love to hear about that kind of stuff. Thanks, guys.